Well, welcome back to Season 2, Episode 7 of the Powered Up Coaches Show, brought to you by Sideline Power, your number one choice in coaching communication equipment. Well, we got our first college coach, and boy, he's a doozy. Logan Masters, the head coach at Wayne State. He joined us today, and there is much to learn here from Coach Masters. Let's start off with what he looks for in a football player when he's out watching them live. And folks, it's more than just skill and talent, and he'll expand on that. Also, he was a Hall of Famer at Wayne State, had all kinds of awards and accolades. What made him so good? He'll let us in on that. And lastly, he did not get to watch Scooby-Doo. Well, he could have watched it, but as a little guy, instead of watching cartoons on Saturday morning, he was watching his dad's black and white tapes from when his dad played wide receiver at Dubuque. We'll hear more about that and his passion for football. Enjoy the show. Well, listen, Storm Lake, Iowa, home of where the music died. I'm sure you've heard that a few times, right?
I don't think so, but...
Oh, you haven't?
No,
The Big Bopper and
Okay,
Richie Valens.
maybe now that you say that.
Yeah.
So actually, I went to high school in Storm Lake. I'm from a
Okay.
small town, Albert City.
Okay.
So it's about 25 miles away, maybe 400 people nowadays. The school was hurting. The school boards from other small towns couldn't agree to share. Mom got a teaching job in Storm Lake, and so my rear end as a freshman drove 25 miles to school. So Storm Lake's where I went to high school, proud of it, but some of that history, like...
Escapes you, right?
Yeah,
Oh, golly.
yep, didn't grow up with it.
Because I got a bunch of Storm Lake stuff.
Oh.
Did you know Gene Hackman was from Storm Lake?
I didn't know that one.
Okay. All right. But here's what you're going to do on the way home tonight.
Yep.
You're going to put on Don McLean, The Day the Music Died.
Okay.
Great song written in 1971. It's all about the plane crash in Storm Lake, Iowa that took three great young artists in a winter storm. So anyway,
Okay.
there you go,
All right.
Coach. We learned a little bit about Storm Lake together.
It's right. You learn something new all the time. Always growing, always learning.
That's
So.
right. Well, listen, so much about your high school career there. I mean, you thrived as a wide receiver, not just in high school, but also in college. Why did you want to go and grab football, extend it in the air where guys could take your legs out? Why did you gravitate to being a wide receiver?
I think it goes back to when you're little playing catch with your dad, and then one of my best friends always wanted to be the quarterback, and so I just wanted to be the receiver. I like Jerry Rice growing up, and just kind of happened. I mean, like some of the best memories when you're growing up is playing catch with your dad and things like that, whether it's baseball, football, and running around. And I mean, right now my oldest son's 9, and you play catch with him, and everything's a deep ball. And so I mean, I was probably the same exact way, and so it just became part of it and part of me, and I just loved it, I guess. And
Yeah.
God blessed me that I could catch and run a little bit, so it all worked out.
Everyone's got their idol. You mentioned Jerry Rice. Were you Jerry Rice? Who were you?
I was Jerry Rice and Tim Brown when I was little.
Okay.
And then as I got older, kind of the weird one would be Jeff Samardzija for Notre Dame.
Okay,
Because I was a wide receiver and then I was a pitcher. So a lot of people don't know this, but I pitched 2 years at Wayne. And so how I ended up kind of at Wayne is obviously Coach McLaughlin did a great job making me feel like $1 million. And then Coach Magnero, the legendary baseball coach.
Yes.
But it's one of the few schools that let me play 2 sports. And so some other schools laugh at me if I was a baseball coach, say, no, you're not playing football, and vice versa. And so it kind of came down to Wayne State and Augustana were the only 2 that let me do both, and that's how I ended up there. So
was it hard for you ultimately? Walk me through that, because Deion Sanders did it, Bo Jackson did it. It is so hard to be a two-sport athlete. How did you make that happen?
Well, I wouldn't say I necessarily killed it or anything. When I got to Wayne, I ended up tearing my labrum. So football was fine, but I had to have shoulder surgery, redshirt in baseball. Sophomore year was pretty good in football. I rehabbed it right to stay healthy, but as far as the throwing, I couldn't throw a strike. And so my last college appearance, I just know it wasn't good. I couldn't throw a stinking strike. And so it was difficult. Probably the hardest part is you play baseball at such a young age, and so it's been part of your life for forever. And then for me, it was just gone. And but I remember getting in trouble because you're a pitcher, you don't play that much. Well, and then I'm also like a wide receiver, so I'm kind of like a Labrador retriever. So we're out there at batting practice, and I'm diving for fly balls, and pretty soon, next thing you know, they're not letting me do batting practice. They're making me go play catch and stuff in the bullpen with the other pitchers. And so it all worked out, but it was time management was big just because you don't really get an off season. You get done with football, you get a little Christmas break. Well, then you got to start throwing. And baseball is in full force in January, and but
Made it work.
Yeah.
That's when you knew you had it, when you're out there diving for fly balls and you're a pitcher, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I think I'm a wide receiver.
yeah, it was a good sign.
And I like
sign.
that you
Yep.
compared yourself to a Labrador. Now, listen, how often have you been compared to Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson?
Never.
I mean, it just happened.
Never. Yeah. It took until I was 36 for it to happen, but no, never before.
Well, Coach, listen, I love this story that you grew up in a small town, 400 people, went to high school in Storm Lake. But what was it like in a community of 400? You're a baseball guy, you're a football guy. Were the Sandlot games legendary? Did you have a lot?
Oh yeah. So I mean, I was just talking the other day to my 9-year-old how my mom was an English teacher. So before I could do anything, I had to get up and read to her. So I got up, would read whatever book she had me reading, and then we'd go to the park and we'd play baseball. And we would still land lines. We'd call as many of our buddies. We had them all memorized, wrote them down on a piece of paper. Try and get as many of them, and then we'd divvy up teams. And then the noon whistle would go off. That means we had to pedal our butts home to eat lunch. And then at 1 o'clock, we'd all meet at the pool and go to the pool for a couple hours, go home, try to relax if you could at that age.
Yeah.
Grab some food, and then you go to your Little League baseball game. And so you were just going constantly. And
That's a life, isn't it?
Oh, it is. You don't realize how good you have it until you start having to get jobs and
Right.
things like that and pay for things when man, you lived the dream when you were all the way till about 12 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the only time we got in trouble is the park was on Main Street, and so we had a couple of lefties, and being ornery little boys, they pitched inside the semi coming. They'd want to try and lace one into a oncoming car. I don't remember us ever hitting one, but I know a couple of those lefties really tried. So
It's great when you got that, isn't
Yep.
it? And you had some lefties too to work on,
Yep.
which is good.
Yep.
So, what'd your mom have you reading? Are you a reader today?
I am a
because of
reader
that?
today.
Yeah.
So I got probably her brain more than my dad. My dad's a math guy. My sister's more a math guy. I'm more of a reader, write a paper rather than can only add by 7 and 3. So
Yeah. But that's a perfect combination.
Yeah, for
Coach.
football coach. Yeah.
Math and you've got the reading part as well.
Yep. So yeah, I enjoy, and that's I think reading, learning. So always trying to find a book on generals, football coaches, whatever, leadership, all that kind of stuff. Because I think there's always something you can take and gain. You keep having the same message over and over. I think consistency is good, but it can get repetitive and
Yeah.
kind of can lose the guy's attention. So
What is one book that you have read from a leadership perspective that you would say every coach should read this?
To be honest, it was I read it in college. It was on Coach K, Coach Krzyzewski. And
Is it the Five Fingers?
Yes.
Making a fist?
Yeah, and it broke it down into very simple, but deep is the right word, but it just made a lot of sense to me. And it's still some of those, if you want to call them core values, we've put into Wayne State. And because there's one thing about Coach K, obviously, he did things right. Because the consistency never was part of. They had one bad year during COVID. And I think other than that, they were in the tournament every year, and that's, complacency is a flaw of humans, and so him and like Nick Saban were the two greatest ones at it of never being complacent, always finding a way to keep guys motivated, keep moving on. And so that one was probably also because it's one of the first ones I read. It probably hit me the hardest. And
I love that analogy too, where he says, together your hand, right? Not much, but you can put them together. You got a fist, and that's pretty powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, especially in football.
Yeah,
it takes 22 guys and more than that, but only 22 on the field to make it all work, and they better work together.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. I want to figure out how you do some of that. But here's what I love about you, Coach. When you're a youngster, Saturday mornings, it's traditional to watch Scooby-Doo, have the sugar full of cereal. But not you.
Nope.
You're watching black and white tapes of your dad playing at Dubuque College.
Dubuque, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Watching him in his game day and no cartoons. I think your parents were probably a little worried, but I think they also knew you were going to be a coach, didn't they?
Yeah, probably. My dad was probably usually working. So, yeah, young age, started watching that. And I always asked my dad, being a receiver, why didn't you throw it more? And he goes, our quarterback couldn't throw. And so when I was, I don't know if I was sophomore and junior, my dad got inducted into the Hall of Fame at Dubuque. And so
Nice.
went back, and his quarterback was there. And me being young and dumb, I go, hey, I heard the reason they couldn't throw it was because you couldn't throw, and you got to chuckle out of all of them and stuff like that, and me just being a dumb 16-year-old. I watched that until games would come on, and back then, not that I'm super old, but there wasn't a ton of games on like there is today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the big ones were on ABC, a few on ESPN, but there was no Fox. There was, I don't know if CBS even had college games really like. So, and then as I got a little bit older, family had Iowa State season tickets, so we started going to them. And there were some good years and some rough ones in there. So
Trying to think who was coaching during most of those
Coach
years.
McCarney.
Yeah.
So they were pretty good with Sage Rosenfels at quarterback, Seneca
Yeah.
Wallace, and then I got to high school and it still liked Iowa State, but it was more fun sitting on a couch watching a bunch of games all day instead of just going to one and only watching that. So.
Yeah, and to this day, if you walk into your office, even now, even here we are in June, you've got reruns of ACC games and SEC games. Why is that?
I don't know. It's my wife's fault. She bought me a Fire Stick to put in my office, so I have
We'll blame her.
unlimited access to all that stuff. Like I said, I kind of like reading. There's always stuff you can learn. I think coaching is just stealing, and you're stealing ideas, you're stealing plays, and it's fun to see how it circles around like buck sweep. Like that's pin pole nowadays. I don't know why we changed the name and stuff like that, but it used to be big. I don't want to put a time frame on it, but it's kind of coming back. You watch film, high school, you watch college. I mean, a lot of teams are running it, having a lot of success. The only difference is now we're doing it out of different, crazier formations than back whenever it became first popular. So that's the cool part. Like I said, finding matchups, using how guys use different positions and things like that. So if I can have something on and something catches my attention, it's going to help us pick up 5 yards or get a stop somewhere, I think it's worth it. So,
who really is interesting to you right now when you're watching these tapes? Who's doing some stuff offensively that you're like, wow, I like this?
Really like Montana State, FCS.
Interesting, yeah.
They very diverse what they do with their quarterback. We like quarterbacks that can run and throw, and so they got some good stuff there. I think Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss is an offensive genius.
Everyone is dropping his name right now. Yeah.
Yep. So those are kind of, if I can find those games. The internet's awesome. I mean, you can find more of those FCS games and things like that. Obviously, one close, South Dakota State. They're doing some really good stuff. So, again, just try and find teams that kind of what looks like fit what we do and things like that. Because, I think Mike Leach was awesome, but they're a little bit too wide open. We're going to have tight ends in the game. We going to run the ball probably a little bit more than Coach Leach did, but there's still some different ideas and things like that you can always take and move on with, I guess.
Before he passed, wouldn't you have loved to just talk to him for an hour on the phone?
Oh yeah,
Coach.
I don't know if you would have talked about football.
No, Pirates
about,
or yeah.
Yep. Some of his interviews are just you can just sit there and laugh. I mean, it's like you go down to the local watering hole and just hanging out with some random guy. That's what I envisioned it as.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's how I would put him. So, let's go back to your dad and watching those black and white tapes. I have to imagine your dad played a huge role in getting your interest in football. Tell me about that. What role did he play in your athletic and just growing up, the way he impressed upon you?
Yeah, he never forced anything on me, but if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. And so, still to this day in the wideouts don't like before, but if you touch your hands, you're supposed to catch it. And that's for as long as I can remember. That was said to me in the backyard. Come home from a game and you touch your hands.
Should have it.
So and I think it's good. He never beat me up, but he could humble me real quick, which I think is needed because once you think you make it in anything, you're going to find a way to get humbled. And he was really good at doing that, but still building me up and saying good job. But hey, once you think you make it, someone's going to pass you by, and you always got to work your butt off. The little things add up to big things, and so, and whether it's baseball, basketball, never let me win in the driveway, and I remember the first time beating him in pickup basketball in our driveway, and it was like winning the Super Bowl. Yeah. So,
you know what I love about that story, and we just talked to Coach Frenzen, from Columbus Lakeview. So many coaches I have a chance to talk to, parents were incredibly loving and involved and encouraging, but they were very honest.
Yep.
Right? And it wasn't like, hey, that touched your hand, but man, the quarterback should drop. It was touched your hand. You should have had it. the value of that from your perspective if a parent approaches it that way with their child?
Well, we talk. I blame it on my wife. She's psychology major, mental, and she's also. We talk a lot about love at Wayne State, and so some kids they think, oh, we're gonna hold hands. No, not at all. It's nothing like that. But you care about the person next to you. Well, when you really care about someone, you're gonna say things that aren't meant to hurt them, but it's the honest truth to help them get to where they are. So again, going back to saving the process, and basically all it is the bridge of where you're at now and where you want to get to. Well, if you don't love the person and have real conversations about where they need to get to and what they need to do, they're never going to get there. They're never going to reach their full potential. And so, just like a parent, same with a coach. Like, hey, we have meetings with our guys all the time. Like, we're not doing this. Maybe an old lineman we're taking when we were a vertical set team. Maybe we're setting at an angle, getting beat inside. Well, if you keep doing that over and over again, you're never going to find success. And so, that's kind of a broader one, but we're going to have those talks. We're going to be brutally honest with you. It's not because we're trying to beat you up. It's because we want you to be the best version of you and reach the goals that you set forth, because you reach them, it's going to help our team. I'm going to win. And winning's pretty important in job security. So, but that's kind of the.
And it's a lot more fun too for your
It
players,
is a lot
isn't
more
it?
fun. Yeah, Coach McLaughlin, when we were playing at Wayne State, how do you spell fun? W-I-N. So, learned that as a young football player. But I think the parenting and coaching thing really overlap, because if you want to be the best, you can't just have everyone pat you on the back and say you're the best. You got to keep working, and that's the thing. Like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, guys like that, Peyton Manning. I mean, they want to be coached hard, and the great ones do, and they want you to be honest, and that's kind of how part of our foundation at Wayne State is love each other, and that's part of it.
I remember Justin Thomas, the great PGA golfer, saying to Bones McKay, his McKay, Bones is how we know him, right? The great caddy. He thought he was being too hard on JT one time, and JT said to him, "Look, I've got a dad. I need you to be honest with me and tell me what's going on." And I think people really do want that, because if you love them, right, they've got to know the truth.
Yep. And if they know you care, it's easier for them to take it in and be receptive to it.
Yeah.
If you don't, and again, presentation's everything.
Yeah.
If you're using some derogatory words, it doesn't usually work.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't sit in. All right. So I want you to tell me who pushed you as a player. Go back to when you were a kid, in high school or in college. Who made you better that was a fellow player of yours?
In college, it was Frederick Bruno, and the crazy part is he's still playing for the Sioux City Bandits. And like, I'm sore golfing 18 holes. I don't know how he does it, playing indoor football on that carpet and things like that. But
Wide receiver.
Yep. So
why did he push you? What did he do?
He was just really stinking good, and so he was naturally talented, and so if you didn't bring it every day in practice, because I probably a little paranoid, but like, you don't lose quarterback's trust,
right?
Like, I mean, usually on third downs, quarterbacks, you can give them all these reads and stuff like that, they're still going to find their dude, and so every day in practice, you'd keep building that trust, because someone could come take it. You're a little banged up, you're not going to miss a rep, because that's a rep someone else could take, and we've all heard the Tom Brady story. Well, you don't want to let that happen, and so he really did that, and hopefully I helped push him too, because he was an All-American and all the Wayne State record books and things like that. In high school, to be honest, it's more looking in the mirror and chasing your goals, and having dad kind of help throw a little motivation in there and things like that, and things like that. So,
who played the biggest role in motivating you as a coach?
And
it could be any sport.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. They all kind of had their own little influences. I was lucky enough when I was at Wayne State. I played, obviously, for Coach McLaughlin, legend, Nebraska High's coaching. But then our offense coordinator was Gene Sir. And so, even though I was a player, I mean, I knew I wanted to be a coach. He talked about that. But then, like, video games came out, playing NCAA football, like, that was a dream. I mean, like, that's how it's funny, our offense coordinator, Colin Prosser, we were college roommates. And so we used to talk as we're playing college football together about, hey, wouldn't this be cool to do this in real life? Well, when I got promoted to head coach, he was my first call. Hey, let's come back and do this in real life like we used to do it in our apartment on the couch. And he was at Minnesota State Mankato as their offense coordinator, so got him over here. But going back, long-winded answer, like those two, Coach Sir and Coach McLaughlin, just, I mean, winning takes what it takes, and they know how to do it. They did a great job of motivating, thinking outside the box. I think sometimes in coaching football, this is what we do. Well, especially college, we try to recruit to what we do, but sometimes you got to change for your players. You try and do the same thing over and over, it doesn't work. And so those guys were great motivators. They thought outside the box, weren't afraid to try new things. And going back to motivation things, they were honest, but you knew they cared about you.
Mm-hmm.
And so those two probably had the biggest impact on me
Can
as
you
coach.
give me one thing that sticks with you today, something that you do, a process, a mindset, something from X and O's that they gave you, one of those guys gave you that you still use today?
I'd say Coach McLaughlin, not like the little things. Okay, so the story is we all got there. We weren't very good. Okay, like we struggled going on 2, and so down our old practice fields, it's probably a 70-yard run. We kept jumping. So what we had to do is when we jump, we'd have to run down to the other end of the field, grab a pine needle, and put it in his hand to make sure everyone touched a tree. And anybody worrying about not touching a tree had to put a pine needle in there. He'd drop them, and we just go. Now we don't go grab pine needles, but what it did is if you can't go on 2 and do those little things right, you're never going to be able to pass pro or throw a touchdown pass, catch a touchdown pass, whatever it may be, unless you can line up right. And so we take a lot of time just offense, defense, line up right. The first 15 minutes of practice is basically form rec, making sure offense can line up right, we can motion right, our splits are good, defense can line up, adjust, communicate, and we don't even run a play. But it's just 15 minutes of that, because if we can't do that, we're going to have trouble being successful doing what we're supposed to do once the ball snapped.
Mm-hmm. Now, look, you go on to play football at Wayne State. We're going to start there. Hall of Fame receiver. You have a ton of accolades. You racked up thousands of yards, touchdowns, you name it. But to me, the most impressive stat that jumps out about you is that in every game you played, you had a minimum of 2 receptions. Some games, many more. I mean, Coach, they couldn't cover you. How did they not take you away? I mean, every game that you played, you set foot on that field, you had at least 2 receptions. How'd that happen?
Frederick Bruno. I mean, you have other good players around you. It's hard to take you away. Now, obviously, I played a really good quarterback, Silas Flown from Bellevue West. He's got a great passing record at Wayne State, too. So, I mean, good players. And then you just, again, I think it goes back to priding yourself every day, being pushed, practicing hard, putting confidence in the quarterback that, hey, if it's a little gray, I know if I put it here, he's going to try and find a way to get it or not let anybody else catch it. And so consistency, I guess, trying to every day in practice be the best you can be and not take days off, even though it's football. Some days your body telling you, hey, need a break. Well, your mind's got to fight over that because, again, to give an opportunity to someone else who knows what the heck happens.
What technically made you so good? So that's the mindset. What about technically? What did you do as a technician to be a good receiver?
It goes back. I just love watching football. And so, I mean, you watch it enough, you can kind of see, you tie in your routes and things like that, where the voids are, and being under control when you get to the window, things like that, or if it's man, the techniques of the DB. Because I don't think I was necessarily more athletic than the other guys going against, but I'd like to say I prepared myself better by watching film, and because I knew I wanted to be a coach. So the only tough part is back then you had to get a DVD from the coaches and then go watch it, and it was hard to rewind it and stuff. So, but yeah,
Did you pick up their tendencies? Did you look and see what those, those
try
DVD
to. And again, Coach Sir was awesome. He'd try and give us some pointers to things to look for on film and things like that. And so it's really cool, and you try to give that same to your kids as players. But when Coach tells you something, then you see it, and you're right, and you can take advantage of it. It's like the best feeling in the world. So, so yeah, just trying to be a student and try and watch what their defense did and how our offense can fit and take advantage of it.
Yeah. So if we start with your coaching, you started out at Wayne as an assistant coach. Then you go on to Shadron State. You were O coordinator before that. You took over for John McMiniman, right, as O coordinator there at Wayne State. He ends up leaving for Tulane. So you've been an assistant coach. And how does the head coaching opportunity come up from that standpoint once he exits and now the opportunity is open?
I guess the good thing for me and hopefully for our staff was when Coach McMiniman went to Tulane, it wasn't like he was the head coach where he could take some of us or all of us with him. It was just him going, so he couldn't necessarily rate our staff. And he did a heck of a job getting this whole thing started and bringing in good people, because I think that's important. It's football. I mean, so many different positions, so many different things. I mean, if you're not surrounded by good people, it's hard to be successful. So you did a great job there, and then it was just been dreaming about it since you were little. It's what you wanted to do. Well, now here's your chance, and I was blessed. Our AD, Mike Pwicki's awesome. Kind of said, hey, finish out the recruiting class, keep it together, and then we'll talk afterwards. And the staff did a great job, and we kept it all together, and was able to take over Coach McMiniman. And
Was it competitive? I mean, were there other internal candidates?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it kind of goes back to can't control who those other people were, who else is calling from the outside. You can control what you do, and so
Right.
I just put forth that we weren't going to lose any of these commits because we had a pretty stinking class, and you're seeing that now with the results in the football field. So it was calling kids, home visits. If I don't get it, it's not because I gave it everything I had, and
Right.
and if there was other guys, I had to show our Mike that I was the guy for the job, and thankfully he saw that and believed in me, and more important than me, but us as a staff, and been able to keep building.
Yeah. So here we are, Wayne America.
Wayne
as it's
America.
known.
That's
Wayne
right.
State. That's right. You get a chance to take over your alma mater, Hall of Famer. On a scale of 1 to 10, I have to imagine that was a very emotional moment. How emotional was it for you knowing that you're now leading your alma mater, where you have Hall of Fame status and had some incredible memories?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Right away, it wasn't just because you're so many things you feel like you need to do, and you don't really think about. Where it started hitting is when we started winning in the fall, and you see the alumni, past players from all different generations saying how proud they are of the Cats and seeing the paw, and that's when it really hits home, because so when I coached at Shatter, and the first thing I still did was check every Wayne State score. Get on the bus, even if we played a night game out in the mountains of Colorado or something they played earlier, I'd be following on my phone. Like, it just becomes ingrained to you because it's part of who you are. And so that's when it really hit. And then you have these golf outings, and people have so much pride in Wayne State and the paw, and that's when it's really special. I'm competitive enough. I go coach on the moon, and I'm going to want to do everything I can to win. So
Right.
I wouldn't say that extra motivation, but that's I guess the special part, the human element, is seeing past players, like just going out recruiting. There's probably Wayne State's been around a while. There's probably parents that went to Wayne State, and they see it and how much fun they had at Wayne State and how their education set them up for success. And then if they're players, I mean, all the great memories and bonds and relationships you build for forever. That's the cool part, because I had that, and so I share that with them.
You know, as an assistant coach, you can get lost in the work, but if there's an assistant coach out there listening who says, hey, I want to be the head coach at a high school level, or I want to be a head coach, beyond that, and they're in that assistant role, what would you tell them to be doing, not just to get lost in the work, but what do they need to do above and beyond that to get ready for that opportunity?
Loyalty. I think that's important. People say it, but water where you are, the grass around you. Don't be pouring it over the fence. Do it right where you're at. Water your feet. Because you do a really good job, and head coach trusts you and things like that. Obviously, more responsibility comes with that. You grow. Well, that word of mouth, whether it's the ADs, other coaches, things like that, it's going to find you. If you're always looking and your foot's effing, you're never doing as good a job as you should be doing. And that head coaches are going to see that. ADs are going to see that. And so I'd just say wherever you are, make it the big leagues. Best you can, everything you got. Head coach asks you to do something, volunteer to do it. Don't be afraid of stepping outside your box, try new things, because that's how you learn and grow.
Yeah. Taking over for a head coach, especially when the staff is intact, ton of advantages, right?
Oh, yeah.
Your staff's intact, you're ready to roll, you can kind of hit the ground running. But what were some of the challenges of that coming in as an assistant coach into that head role?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think there's a book out there that says exactly what entails being a head coach. I mean, there's always different things that pop up that, think about when you're assistant coach. And now it's on your desk, and you have to answer it and do all those things.
Sure.
So I guess that part is just being as prepared, I guess, as possible for that. I don't know if you can be. And I'm lucky. Coach McMiniman, I mean, he was awesome to me. He still is. So if ever I need anything, I call him, ask him questions. But he kind of sometimes would, I don't know if groom's the right word, but hey, this is going on. What do you think? Things like that. And so he kind of did a good job of help prep me for when this time came. And I don't know if either one of us thought it was going to come as fast as it did, but it did, and I'm thankful for him. But he's a special one.
Yeah, Northwest Missouri State guy, right?
Yep.
Was he a quarterback down there?
Quarterback down there,
Yeah.
yep.
Won a national title, I think, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
they're pretty stinking good. And then cup of coffee with Cowboys, and then I think he played for the Beef, and then came back, was on UNO staff, and then Midland, and Coach McLaughlin hired him as the OC, and I got to be his GA, and then went to Central, and then I'll never forget, I'm sitting in a hotel in Boulder, Colorado, recruiting at Shatter, and he calls me, like, oh, this is interesting. Hey, I'm taking the Wayne State job. Oh, okay, awesome. Are you coming back? And I go, I don't know. Just was there 3 years ago. All right, you're coming back. Start you January 1st. Like, all right, well, let me talk to my wife first. So,
was it an easy conversation? Was it quick?
With my wife, yes.
Yeah.
Closer to the family. I love my wife, and I really enjoyed my time out at Shattered. However, I don't think if Amazon didn't deliver out there, it would have been hard on our marriage. So I think it was a little too remote for her. But she was a trooper. She handled it really well. And like I said, Coach Long, great out there, learned a lot, made me a better coach, and I think ultimately helped me get to where I am now.
Yeah, thank goodness for Amazon.
That's right. That's right.
You know, you were an offensive coordinator, obviously, at Wayne State before you took the job. Now you got to focus on both sides of the ball. And I'm always curious when a coordinator, right, gets the role, how do you make sure, I know you were always paying attention to the other side of the ball, but how do you make sure now that you delve in and you get everything you need from that defensive side and you get up to speed on knowledge?
Well, I think hiring good people, like Coach McLaughlin, our defense coordinator, is awesome. He's one of the best there is around. And so, to be honest, I let him coach. I try to stay out of his way. I mean, I always talk to him, what do we got to do? I watch film, hey, what's our plan to stop him? He's got the answers. I think sometimes, and I've seen it where head coaches, because I'm more an offense guy, I coach quarterbacks and more involved in the offense, come up with, on Saturday, all of a sudden the emotions get in there, and all of a sudden now things not practicing or having practice with the kids all week, you want the defense to do or offense to do if you're a defense head coach. And I hate to say panic, but it kind of is. And then the kids feel that. So try and stay as calm. Our coaches, I trust them all. They're all here to do their job. And so I really trust Coach McLaughlin. And if I have questions, how are we going to stop this? He's got it, and he rattles it off just like that. And if he has questions on how maybe to stop something from the offensive side, try and help him as much as possible. Same with special teams, things like that. The worst job probably on my staff is probably offense coordinator, just me being an offense guy. I can't keep my mouth shut.
Yeah,
but I'm the head coach, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're the CEO now, and it's such a great question because how do you determine? We've seen head coaches who still want to make the play calls, but how did you go through that process to say I need to be the CEO and give up play calling?
To be honest, it was probably if I didn't hire Coach Prosser, I probably would have called it. He's one of the we talk even when he was at Mankato. We talked every week except for the week we played each other. We wouldn't talk to each other, but we talk all the time. I mean, we have the same kind of philosophy and what we want to get accomplished and things like that on offense. That one was easy. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if he would have said no to me and someone else came in. I don't know if I could have given it up just because I hate to compare it to a drug, but it's like a drug. I mean, you just is what it is, I guess. And so, but it's been good, and it's been able, especially for a first-time head coach, with him being able to call it. It's allowed me, like you said, to be more of a CEO, deal with the other things that they're football related, but they're not necessarily football related. And the same thing with Coach McLaughlin on defense. They do a great job. So again, surround yourself with good people.
There's not a better feeling though when you're an offensive coordinator or you're calling pitches in baseball, or when you make that, you go on a run of like 9 great play calls, right? And you're like, everything is working. I mean, you've got to miss that at times, right?
Yep. I don't miss though when you think you got 3 great plays. Next thing you know, you're yelling punt team. So I mean, there's 2 sides of it. But
3 and out. Yeah.
And the defense coordinator's looking like, what the heck are you doing? So, it is. And when you practice something all week and the kid's prepared for the look, go to it and you take advantage of it. Yeah, like I said, it's a competitive drug.
Yeah.
So.
You talk about competitive recruiting in football is competitive. So how do you make Wayne State stand out? I mean, what is your How do you market it? How do you make it stand out? How do you make it sound different?
Well, I think D2 football relationships still matter.
Relationships with,
The recruits.
okay.
I truly do. I think you get to higher levels, it's more about the money and things like that. And I know that's starting to trickle into D2, but I don't think it's a substantial amount that can make a kid go to a place he doesn't really want to go to, but the money's there, so he
Right.
goes. So we're aggressive. So I mean, January we were wrapped up with our class for this past. We started bringing juniors on, and there's some kids you can just put on junior film, and you watch them walk in the room, and you're like, yep, he can play football. And so very aggressive there, building relationships, talking to them. So we start way early compared to some schools. Then I think we've had about 300 kids already visit campus through junior days, things like that. We call it the state of Wayne. You put a dot in Wayne, and you go about 250, 300 miles around Wayne, and we want to try and dominate that area. And so the nice part about where we're at, there's enough population to do it. So really hammering eastern Nebraska, eastern South Dakota, and the whole state of Iowa. Just population, Iowa's a little bit more densely populated than Nebraska and South Dakota.
Yeah.
And being from Iowa, there's one Division II, and it's Upper Iowa, and it's an acquired taste. So we just try and hammer locally and find guys that fit. There's a lot of really good football players, but like you said, Wayne America, like we don't have a mall, we don't have things like that. Well, I don't know if we'd want those guys anyways if we had those types of things. We want guys that want to come in and again, be the best version of them, be very competitive, have goals, whether it's football, keep playing, or go kick the real world's butt and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Motivated people usually are successful people. And so we find those and you throw them in a locker room. And right now I really like where that's at. They're guys, again, we talk about love. They love each other. They're busting their butts. I think we got 70 returners, and they're all in Wayne. Starting in June, they all have jobs, places to live, and working out 4 days a week. And even got a couple of true freshmen that moved in early. And so, and again, I think our biggest battle is I guess think of Wayne, think of small town.
Right.
Nothing to do. Well, if we can get guys to Wayne and prove that we have electricity, running water, Wi-Fi, it usually sells itself because we're building an indoor. We're putting $30 million into an indoor and our rec center, library, new dorms. I mean, our school's growing. I mean, you hear a lot of schools making budget cuts. Well, we're adding a dorm to up enrollment. I mean, we're adding program. I mean, it's just our President Ramus is awesome. And so, again, we just got to get people there to see it, that it's really stinking nice. Again, coaching relationships. We set up our schedule in the fall. We practice 6 a.m. on Friday mornings. That allows us, our whole staff on home games, to go out and watch high school football games. And I think that's one, because everyone looks good in the highlight film. Well, how do you handle when adversity hits? I mean, are you one that when things are going good, it's awesome, but when things get tough, do you hide? Do you take coaching? When things go bad, are you blaming the refs? Things like that. You can really see those things when you're there watching games, and I think that's another reason why our recruiting's been more efficient, is because, again, highlight films are great.
Yeah.
But it hides some things.
So, Coach, I'm gonna challenge you on this, because I want you to hit me right up here aside the head if you disagree. I hear that from time to time. I hear from, hey, I want to see. But if a kid's a good football player and they go out and they look pouty on the field, would you really say, I'm not taking that kid?
Depends on how good.
Okay.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's head and shoulders, but then you're going to talk to the coach. Is it like this all the time? Because unfortunately, been on some teams that hadn't won.
Yeah.
Well, when you look back, it wasn't because we weren't talented. It's because there was locker room things. Guys maybe not fully bought in, and then you suck in a few guys. Well, you need for us, 104 guys pulling in the same direction. And so that's where we have to find that balance.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know there's so many other factors you're looking at. Have you ever gone to a game and went, I didn't know this guy was on my radar, but he's on my radar now?
Yep. Funny. So went to Gretna a couple years ago and brought my son. He'd been 7, and they're playing Lincoln Southeast. And Braden Cheney's his name. He'd been hurt as a sophomore, as a junior. And I think it's either 7-7 or 0-0 at halftime. We got there at halftime because nice part, you can go watch warm-ups, check out a first half, then go to another game in the Metro. I mean, you can see 4 to 6 teams real easy in one night. And so went there, opening kickoff second half. This number 7 takes the kickoff, houses it. I'm like, oh, who is that? He can run. All right, looking him up. Braden Cheney, senior, never heard of him. Okay, great. Well, my son's there cheering him on. First play, he gets to see a touchdown. That became his favorite player. And so next drive, out there on defense, he's playing corner, pick six. And just like, he is long, he is fast. So my son's going nuts. I mean, the whole car ride home, he's like, we got to get 7. We got to get 7. Dad, what we got to do to get 7? So I bring Lincoln to our team breakfast next morning. We had a home game. And he goes up to Coach McMillan. I was still the offense coordinator at the time. And he's like, Coach Mack, we got to recruit number 7 from Gretna. He's the best player in the state. I'm like, whoa, easy, buddy. It was one game. I come to find out, heck of a baseball player. And Coach Cale was the head coach at the time then. Talked to him about him, said, great young man, just has had bad luck with injuries. Well, so no one really recruited him for football. Heck of a baseball player. So he's up at Wayne right now playing football and baseball. Plays outfield for us. And last year as a redshirt freshman, end of the season, one of our go-to guys. And now this summer expecting big things from him for next fall. So
you really just have to like to recruit too. I mean, right? I mean, it sounds like you get it. You're willing to put in the work. You're willing to get aggressive, as you say. And it seems like sometimes coaches are just, they have a little bit of a disdain for recruiting, but it sounds like you like it.
Yep. I mean, I'd like to say I like to talk to people.
Sure.
Have some social skills. But I'm also smart enough to know good players make your job a heck of a lot easier. It sounds crazy. Hate to compare real life to a video game, but when you're playing NCAA football back in the day, like those big-time recruits make it a heck of a lot easier to win games. And so you start there on the game. I mean, it seems nuts, but translate, and then you think about who did a really good job recruiting you, what worked, and it was going to basketball games. It was phone calls. It was handwritten letters in the mail. I mean, just and what's that take? 2 minutes maybe of your time a day.
Handwritten notes, I love that.
Yeah, so I think the big thing, especially having a family, is you got to be organized and set time aside. And if you can't get it to as many kids in one night, you just got to suck it up and hope that someone else didn't call them and you get to them the next day. And things like that, because you don't want to take away from family time either. But yeah, you learn to love it, and I think the kids appreciate that too, and the families.
So I did a little research, reached out to some families of kids who play for you, right, for this
Oh,
interview.
no.
Oh no, you're going to like it. But you mentioned handwritten notes. I think that is such a lost art, right? And there was one particular family whose son was injured. And you took the time to write him a note and say, keep plugging, we believe in you. And I can tell you that meant the world to there's one thing for a coach to say we're family, right? There's another to kind of walk the walk, and that's walking the walk, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you'd like to say so. But football's a violent game. Guys are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Technology, medicine have come a long ways. I mean, most things if your mindset's right, you can come back from it. And so, that's the biggest thing is the mindset. And so, when someone gets hurt, and sometimes it might be a kid recruiting, but just football's the greatest game ever. And so they have the mindset to come back and recover. If that letter can be a little extra push to keep a positive mindset on the recovery, 'cause it's not easy. Been through a time or two myself. Then it was worth it. And but again, it goes back to relationships. I think people matter. Life's hard. We have all this nice stuff in Wayne, but when life smacks you, our indoor, $30 million isn't going to talk to you. It's going to be people to help you get through it. I'd like to say life is a steady climb to the top, but it's not. And who's going to be there to help you fight through the tough times and things like that?
Yeah, well, and certainly it shows that, right? And to your point, you're not feeling great, right, when you're hurt. And boy, what a nice touch. Who inspired you to coach? I mean, who do you think was the one that said, you've got it, either by their words or maybe you watched them and said, that's what I want to do?
I don't know if maybe when I was really little, I dreamed of playing in the NFL. I just always loved football. And I go back to, my mom was my sophomore English teacher, and we had to write a career paper on 3 different careers. Well, me being a stubborn sophomore, I'm like, I'm going to do what I want. I want to be a college football coach. I know that. I don't need to waste my time. No, you got to do it. That's the rules. I'm like, no, it's a waste of time. I want to be a college football coach. That's what I'm going to be. Why would I waste my time? So, okay, I thought I won the battle with my mom and at school. Well, I come home and my dad, pull your head out. You're writing 2 others. Do it. Everyone has to do it, or there's going to be consequences. So I don't even know what my other 2 other careers I wrote about for that paper, but I just know that. But I can't. So I guess watching all that film being little, I mean, maybe I didn't know I wanted to be a football coach. I just knew I love football. But
Yeah.
at that point, and I don't know if there was one person really I could point that to. I just think love of the game, and I don't feel like I work a day of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when you know. I watch football. I go to football games. I mean, talk to people, recruit. I mean, you enjoy it. My wife, it's like, you don't have a job. You just hang out with your buddies all day. That's what she gives me. I don't know if I go that far, but
I love it. I love hearing that, because that means you're in you're loving what you're doing. You're in a great spot in your life. But I've got some more good news for you, Coach. And you tell me if this theory's right.
Okay.
I think Division II football is on the cusp of, I mean, it's already a great brand of football. So many great athletes. But I think it's even going to explode even more. And here's why. Tell me if I'm wrong. If the roster limits are going to be right that I'm hearing about, 85, 90, no walk-on. I mean, They're going to have to limit the walk-ons. There are going to be so many guys. Right now, D2 programs might miss out on a walk-on, that goes to a D1 program. They're going to be playing at Wayne America and all these other places. I think it's going to make the brand, which is already great, even more exciting. What say you on that?
Oh, I totally agree. Because right now the tough part is he's used to a few years ago walk on, chase their dream. I'm all about. I can't tell a young man what makes him happy. I mean, like me, I couldn't walk on because I wanted to play. Not saying you can't play, but I wanted to play early. I like the baseball story. I can't sit still, right. And so can't tell a young man what makes him happy. Well, guys would eventually, hey, I work my butt off. You work year round. I'm not getting to play. They'd leave. Well, now with NLI money, some of these walk-ons are making too much money, so they fight through the not playing part and just collect the paycheck. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably hurt us maybe a little bit. However, I think the portal, with not taking as many maybe local guys, D1s, where they're going to go there, it's helped D2 football and better guys be around. But I agree, if they start going to that, it's again, never want to tell a kid not to chase their dreams.
Right.
But
they might not have a choice. If they've got 100%. A roster limit of 85.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I think you're 100% right.
Yeah. Let's talk a little family here, because you could not do this. As your wife said, you just go out and hang out with your buddies all day. You couldn't do this without an incredible, support behind you. And your wife, by the way, she's a mother of 4 boys.
Yep.
So right there, she gets a gold star. Yeah. But, when you come home at night and you've got that support behind you, what does that mean to you?
Oh, it's awesome. Amber's, she's my best friend. Love her to death. She's great. She's put up with basically 5 versions of me. Like, I don't know what she's saying. But she's awesome. She has sacrificed, especially during the fall, and then not in fall, you try to make up for it. I don't know if you ever can, but very supportive, always there. Sometimes it's funny after you get done with the game, come home, and she's like, what were the refs thinking? I'm like, babe, let's just calm down. Like, because she gets into it, because she knows that, like, winning is important and things like that, and she likes seeing our kids succeed. You get to know the smaller community. You go get groceries, you see our players. They're part of the family. And so she's awesome.
And that's when you have a great partner in this, when you come home and she's as upset, if not more upset, about the officiating.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully what she doesn't say is, why'd you run that on 2nd and 7?
Maybe a couple of times.
And now you've got 4 boys, all with the starting first name with L, right?
Yeah. Yep. Lincoln, Langston, Leighton, and Lawyer. So
I love it. I love those are great names, by the way. And you've already got a son who it looks like is an unpaid assistant giving you advice on who to recruit, right?
Yep. He's excited. We start team camps up here. He's so excited to get up there and spot the balls and all that good stuff.
That's great. Wide receivers, what do you see in these kids?
Good question. Right now, Lincoln is he's so stinking like I don't know, technology. He is watching YouTube. He's a Buffalo Bills fan, so he's had some rough Januaries. But he watching film. He's watching all these things, NFL Network. We just got to get his little body to catch up to his mind. But it'll be interesting. He could be a wide receiver, quarterback. He's bigger than I was this age. Who knows? Maybe he's left tackle. Everyone needs linemen, so hopefully he stays big and can be an old lineman, because there's never...
Oh boy!
Never not enough.
Those are gold, aren't they? Yeah.
Yep. Then the second one's a little string bean, built like me, so he's probably gonna have to be a skill guy. And the jury's still out on the 2 little ones. I know our
Yeah.
third one's an intense little sucker, so
Yeah.
he probably needs to play defense. So
You got a hitter. I like that.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
What kind of life is it for them to grow up around football? I have to imagine this is about as idyllic as it can come.
Yeah, I think they probably have, like Lincoln, our oldest, probably has a little more appreciation for it because he gets to go on some road trips, be around at practice. The younger ones, they're starting to get closer to age. Right now is probably the toughest time because they don't quite fully understand why Dad in January is gone a week to go see kids and things like that. But you try and make up the time whenever you can. But again, like the summers are kind of laid back, and if you go to a camp, they can ride with and go to grandparents. Like went to Iowa State, they can hop in the car. I can meet them at a truck stop. They can go hang out with grandparents for the day, and I can pick them up on the way home. So it leads to more family opportunities like that and stuff. So
It's another thing that one of your parents said is that it really is truly a family environment at Wayne State, that there's kids running around, right?
Oh, yeah.
Love that. They love it. It really goes through all part of your program. It's not just what's happening with your team, but you're bringing in family as well, and it's palpable. They feel it.
Yeah, I mean, so I have 4 little ones. Our offense coordinator has 3 boys. Defense coordinator has 2 boys. Coach Ulrich just hired him. He's got 3 boys, and then Coach Roach just had a little girl. So, again, we're away a lot. So if there's a snow day, no school or summer, like I want the kids around. Like we deal with, there's nothing more chaotic than being on a headset on Saturday afternoons. Well, we can do business office stuff with kids running around. I mean, it's not that big a deal. And again, I think also it's good for our players just to know there's little eyes looking up to you. Not to put pressure on them, but just everything you do, every choice you make matters. And so, you ask all our players, I bet when they were little squirts, there was probably someone in their high school or someone like that they looked up to, idolized. Well, that's a little different with our kids. And so, if a recruit doesn't like kids, Wayne State's the wrong program because they are everywhere and they're at a lot of stuff.
Oh, I love it. It is definitely a family atmosphere. All right, we're going to do a little something here to finish up, Coach. We're going to do a little 3 and out.
Okay.
So we're not punting here. So we got to get through this. So it's 1st and 10. All right, you had some great quarterbacks throwing you the ball, obviously, Hall of Famer. But now you get to pick any quarterback, past or present, living, not living, right, at any level, to throw you the ball. You're still playing. Who's that quarterback you're picking?
Nick Bowen, our quarterback right now.
I like it. Yeah. Bennington boy, right?
Yep, Bennington boy. Yep.
All right, tell me why.
He is the toughest, most competitive kid I've ever been around. He just is. He's a winner. He finds it. It might not always be the prettiest, but he's going to do whatever in the heck it takes to win. And obviously, when you're a player as wide receiver, you're selfish. You want the football, but winning's a heck of a lot more fun. I mean, you remember the wins more. You remember how many catches and stuff the older you get, and things like that. And so, I take him because he's gonna find a way to, hopefully, if I was playing, get me the ball or help us win. I guess.
You ever taken some passes from him right now?
Oh yeah,
go out there and play a little catch
during special teams when we do quarterback drills. Starting to find out that getting old and a little rusty. Don't quite move or catch the way I used to, but. That's all right. No, you recruit guys that are better than me.
So what is it about a quarterback throwing the foot? What do you want on the ball? What do you want it to feel like coming out of a quarterback's hand?
Well, everyone's a little bit different. I don't get caught up too much in throwing motion because you've been doing it that way. And I use Tim Tebow as per example. All these quarterback gurus are going to change his throwing motion, make an NFL quarterback, and you do something so much, it's almost impossible to change. Right. I can catch really sometimes, like your baseball pitchers have a heavy ball. And that's true, I think, with some throwing styles. It just feels light. It just doesn't feel like you're catching a rock. You're catching a feather, I guess.
Yeah.
I think Nick has that. And then, two, having touch, knowing the right type of throws. We were freshmen, so no hard feelings to my quarterback. But cover 2, he threw a little lollipop up to me. I still to this day remember just getting blown up. And having that feel, the right touch, the right type of pass to make in different situations, different defenses, different areas of the field. Nick's got that. So.
Yeah, he is a heck of a quarterback. All right, so we're looking at 2nd down and 6. We won first down. We got 4 yards. All right, you get to be the Division II official rules maker for the day.
Yep.
What rule are you going to implement or change or cut completely from D2 football? So you can change, you can bring a new rule in. What are you changing about D2 football?
I'm going back to clock stops on first downs.
I like it.
So get a few extra plays in.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I know. Heck, we got to throw the ball. We want more time of possession.
And the
right?
only time you like that rule is when we have a lead, I guess, in the second half. But
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
All right, here we go. This is the toughest one I maybe ever thrown out to any coach in 2 years of doing
Okay.
this. You're at a 5-star restaurant.
Okay.
They come out and they say, look, we've got 2 cuts of meat tonight.
Yep.
One is Nebraska beef. One is Iowa beef. What steak you ordering?
I'm ordering 2. I'll take
you
one.
were gonna say
I'll
this.
take one of each.
I knew you were going to say this.
Eat
You
half and
can't-
I'll take home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here you go. I'm gonna go in Nebraska, but I'd never pass up an Iowa pork chop. How about that?
Oh, listen, and absolutely. There's a winner right there. You got both states happy behind you now.
That's right. So, yeah, Nebraska, more beef state, I'd say, and then Iowa don't mess with the pigs and corn. So
That's right. Well, Coach, you have been an absolute joy to have this interview with today. And Wayne State is going places. By the way, made the playoffs in year 1, just barely missed it last year. I know you were talking with Coach Frinzen when you came in here, and boy, everyone's noticing what you're doing up there. You got some great players. I cannot wait to watch it grow.
yeah, we're excited. We spout players, and again, going back to Korean, just hammered this part of the country, and got a lot of guys that like-minded, same goals, and not afraid to work, and got great staff. So we're excited about the fall, and hopefully be another good one.
And by the way, I know I should be wrapping this up, but I'll throw one more thing out there. Another thing that high school coach told me is he heard you speak at a clinic, and he said, boy, you talk about leadership, he's the real deal. So again, people are noticing, and good things are happening away in America, so it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's been a blast, and surrounded by great people, great administration, and now we just got to keep building, keep climbing.
I have a feeling that's going to happen. Coach,
so.
thanks a million.
Thank you. Thank you.
bet.